Audit has always been very important for meeting compliance and regulatory norms. In this module, we will go through the old and the new ways of auditing, and we will also learn new skills in terms of database maintenance and change management. Welcome to the class of auditing. Many companies have internal and external auditors whose work is to go through policies and look if the policies are properly being implemented or not. In this module, we will focus precisely on data auditing. SQL Server 2008 has come up with a lot of changes for auditing. To begin with, I will show you some old ways of how we've been auditing, and we will start from there. So I'll take you back to Start, All Programs, SQL Server 2008R2, and Management Studio. Get connected to a particular instance. Let's create a new query. As always, I have query ready for you, and we will use them for our proof of concept. So let's get the story up front. What's the story? The story is I'm supposed to track or keep track of all the changes which is happening to my particular table. Let's assume, right? In this case, I have a table called Sys Mentors Course, right? And there is an audit requirement that if anybody changes a particular course type for whatever reason, I'll have to have the change tracked, which actually means that we should have the old data and the new data along with information about who made the change and so on. So I will explain the story as we go on through the particular proof of concept. To begin with, create table Sys Mentors course, course ID not null, course name, course type, a cast which accepts null, and we are all good, right? I'll go pick and use Sys Mentors DB and execute it. The table got created, which is good. I will also add a primary key constraint to make sure that you cannot have multiple course IDs, multiple same course ID. Yeah. So alter table name, add constraint name, primary key on that particular column, and that works good as well. Let's do two inserts. Insert into the table name called Sys Mentors Course, and we will put in an ID, a course name. First one I'm putting it as null, that's a course type, and another one with value, and so on, right? So two insert statements going into the specific table. Two rows got affected, which is good. Let's confirm if the tables got created properly, and the table got created and the rows got inserted as well. CRM has a course type set to null, and AX2012 has a course type set to simulation. Now, what do we want? If anybody changes this particular course type, I want the old value and the new value along with who changed it. Where do I store them? This is how we used to do it in earlier releases, and there are a lot of administrators who still follow the same way. To keep track of all the changes, I am going to create an audit table. For this simulation, I'm trying to create a table name called Sys Mentors Course Audit. We're creating an audit ID. It's an auto number. In SQL Server, you do auto number by using identity. This is the seed. This is the increment value. Starts with 1, increments by 1, and it's going to be a primary key as well. It contains course ID. It has an old course type, new course type, and we have changed when, and this is going to be a date time column, date time 2, and we have changed by, which is a sys name type, right? And I'm defaulting them to this current date and time and the current user who is actually doing the work. So let's create a table. The table is successful. Now, what are triggers, right? Let's minimize this a little bit, increase the space. Now, SQL Server has a lot of object types including tables, views, procedures, functions, etc. And one of the object type is the trigger. The difference between procedure, function, and trigger, right? If I am looking at some SQL statements, if I want to execute them by a name, I will have to label them. That's why I use stored procedures and I use functions. Functions and procedures execute transact SQL statements with a name, but procedures are executed by execute procedure name. Functions are called by using select function name in SQL Server, but triggers get automatically executed based on certain events. In this example, we're creating a trigger called sysmentors course update, and I'm going to base my trigger on a table called sysmentors course. Okay, what am I going to base my trigger on? For update, which is pretty cool. Set no count on, meaning don't give me how many rows got affected output back, right? So what is my trigger code going to do? The trigger goes down and looks for if someone is updating my course type column on this table, which is sysmentors course, begin and do what? Insert into table name called audit, pass on these values, and where am I going to get these values from? And that is when you need to know these keywords or the virtual tables which SQL Server creates along with triggers, right? They call it inserted and deleted. There is a transact SQL class from sysmentors. If you're interested, you should go through them as well, wherein you will learn about how effectively you can write transact SQL statements. But for now, we are trying to do an inner join where we are associating the virtual tables from SQL Server created tables for triggers, inserted and deleted. I'm creating a table alias called IND, and I'm using iCourse ID while deleted course type and inserted course type, and I'm going to use them into these columns. If you remember, it also had an identity column, which is an auto number, and this is it. Let us go create the trigger. Many companies still use triggers for audit purposes, and this is what they do more or less. They want to keep track of what columns are involved in, and they'll have old values with timestamps and get things done. Now we are all set and ready for audit to take place. So let us begin with a simple update statement. In this case, I'm going to update this null value with webcast, with the course type of webcast. Updated, one row got updated. Let's go look at the audit table now. The trigger should have got executed by now, and yes, it did. So it creates an incremental auto number value. Course ID remained the same. It shows me the old value and the new value based on the timeline and who changed it. Let us go do a little bit more. Execute, and it got updated as well. And if I look at my audit table, I'll be able to see a complete track of when it got changed, who changed it, and so on. So in brief, what are we talking about? To make it very simple, there are many new ways which we will see how to audit in the next part of this class, but triggers are always simple ways to do auditing. Let us also talk about profilers. SQL Server has a very good tool called SQL Profiler, but the problem with profilers are they put heavy load on my infrastructure, and a lot of administrators do not run or like running profilers on the servers, so they will use triggers to get audit done. In our next module, we will talk about the new features.